What's going to happen in the market in 2025? Today we are going to talk about it. I'm Adrienne, longtime Florida realtor, and I'm here to help you get your Florida life. Happy Wednesday, everyone. If you're new here, new videos come out every Wednesday. We are in 2025, if you can believe it. Every year in the 2000s, I think of Y2K. We made it 25 years past that. Pretty good, I would say. Today we are going to look at predictions for the next year. I'll tell you what I'm seeing, what I think might happen. I don't have a crystal ball. We all know that. I do pay a lot of attention to what economists are saying, what is going on out in the real estate market in the world. We'll talk more about that, how the country as a whole really affects us. If you like videos like this, please give this video a like so I know what you want to see more of. Also, you can subscribe to keep up on the real estate market in Southwest Florida. If you've been watching for a long time, you know we are in a buyer's market here in Southwest Florida, in Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I did an end of year wrap up for 2024. And you can see that we stuck in a buyer's market all year long. Prices went up and down a little bit. No crazy drops, but they have been steadily sort of inching one way. I expect that to continue, although I do expect the market maybe in the latter half of the year to balance out a little bit. The reason why is I hear from a lot of sources outside of the area that the country as a whole, people are expecting things to loosen up a little bit. Lawrence Yun, who is the economist for the National Association of Realtors, did a talk for realtors a couple weeks ago, and he said something very interesting. He said in a lot of markets where we thought nobody would ever sell again, they got into the market at a 3% interest rate. Who's going to sell that? Well, in a lot of those markets, we're starting to see people sell those houses because maybe they had another baby, maybe they're going through a life change where the house just needs to sell. Whereas sort of the prediction for many years was who's ever going to sell these houses? But life happens. We don't live in a world anymore where people stay necessarily in the same house for 30 years at a time. It used to be more like that. We see that less and less these days. So as those markets loosen up a little bit and people sell those houses, that will help our market. Even if you don't see it as directly, you will see it a little bit here, but you also, what holds our market back sometimes is we are very optional in a lot of segments of the Punta Gorda and Port Charlotte area. People want to move down here to retire. Maybe they're going to retire in 3 years. Do they buy the house this year? Do they wait till next year? It's not, oh, October 1st, I have to start my job. It's much more flexible. So the more they feel good about the markets up north, the better, the more likely they are to move down here or to buy down here, even if they haven't sold their house up north. They want to know that they can sell their house up north. They want to know that people are moving around. When they're moving around, you don't want to be the only one moving, basically. There is endless talk about interest rates. I keep hearing that now that we're not going to see much change in interest rates next year, maybe down a little bit. But when we went into 2024, there was this kind of definite, oh, they're going to drop this year, not back down to 3%, but in the 5s. I hear a lot of talk of them staying in the 60s throughout the year. We'll see about that. Interest rates are kind of in the same boat for a lot of our market as what I just talked about. If people know their property up north is likely to sell, they will move down here more readily or buy down here more readily. And interest rates really affect that. We do have a lot of cash buyers down here, but those cash buyers want to know that they can get cash somehow if needed. And that's how interest rates affect us the most. Of course, we do have first-time home buyers down here, and there are segments of the market that really affects. But more than a lot of areas, we have sort of these optional sections of our market where people are buying second homes, retirement homes, and that is affected by the rest of the country in a big way. So I keep a lot of an eye on what's going on other places, and I do hear a lot of there's high inventory all over the country, but also people are starting to say, hey, it's time. We're going to have that other baby. We got to do something. And that, even if they're not having another baby down here, although that certainly does happen, it helps us get more people coming down. That being said, our inventory is high enough that I cannot imagine we will flip to a seller's market this year. That would take a huge influx of buyers. Now, I say that, I think about this, I know I've mentioned this on the channel before. In 2020, when COVID hit, I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be very slow. No one's going to buy. You know, they were shutting down the country for a couple weeks and things went crazy. We would almost need something like, I mean, obviously we don't want another pandemic in any sense of the word, but we would almost need something to really motivate buyers in that sort of mass way for us to change to a seller's market. We could balance out. We have been in a buyer's market for a couple of years now, and that doesn't last forever. At some point, it's going to start coming back. We never know. We are at the bottom of the market until the market changes. This could, I could very well see this be the last season of a full-on buyer's market because we have been in it long enough, just like Mr. Yoon was saying about, or he might be a doctor. Dr. Yoon? I don't know. Lawrence Yoon, the National Association of Realtors economist, was saying that people just start to get eager to move. People who have waited it out, if they've been waiting out their retirement or living in snow year after year when they don't really have to, that does start to get old. And if they can do it, they're going to start to do it. Now let's talk about hurricanes. A lot of people are asking me, is this going to affect our market in the future? Of course it affects us a little bit. Weather affects the entire country, but I don't think it'll affect, I don't believe that people will just stop moving to Florida. We've been through hurricanes before. Our houses are just getting stronger and stronger. And what I do think is people will start paying more attention. I have long gotten questions about, are these impact windows? What kind of shutters does this house have? Now I think the conversation of elevation, which was a conversation before, will be had even more. Before 2022, the insurance rates on low houses that are not built up, were so much higher than after they made changes in 2022. It's very strange that it was always this huge conversation. And then they leveled them out some, and the prices on the houses that were not built up, they're not on stem walls, they're kind of flat to the ground, were so much better. You did see people think that they were more and more attractive. Now that's still kind of the case. I see people getting great deals on flooded homes, people who want to live on the water and say, you know what, I can do drywall. There is a FEMA 50 rule, but we see a lot of people getting it done. I will put it that way. You really, if you're going to buy one of these houses, you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. I would say location and floor plan and what is available in the house, what kind of roof it has. All of these factors play in. I've seen some houses that I just think this is a tear down. It should be lot value. And I see some that I'm like, somebody could fix this up, make it a very nice home if they felt comfortable doing that kind of work or had a crew or, you know, this type of thing. So, you know, somebody who can do the work. So that is kind of the key, is to really understand what is going on. You can get a great deal. Of course, always when it's difficult for other people, it's an advantage to some people. And that's what we see with the flooded homes. And that's what we'll see going forward. I do see a lot of opportunity for more inland areas. I'm not talking the center of Florida. I'm talking 20 minutes, maybe more suburban type areas. If you want to be close to the beach, close to good boating, close to downtown, you are going to be in AE flood zone usually. It's very hard to get around that. That's a balancing act that people just have to work out for themselves. That being said, I do not think that people will stop wanting to live near the water. It is too much of a dream for too many people. We will just see them being more and more strategic about it. Where I see the hurricanes affect us the most is actually insurance costs. Insurance is not cheap in Florida. We have had reports of new insurance agencies coming to the state. And I will tell you, recently, I saw quotes from a new insurance company. My insurance agent said to me she hasn't really dealt with them, but they're backed by some big company. She only sells policies where she thinks it's, she has optimism about the company. She won't just sell any company. She flat out said, hey, this is a new company and we don't know them as well, but we think they're gonna pan out good. It was $2,000 less than every other quote she got. So that kind of competition coming into the market could really help us. Hopefully we will see more and more of that. I know the Florida legislation, I know Florida legislators are really pushing for that. You don't see it on the news as much. You just see people complaining about insurance, which by all means complain about insurance. We should be complaining about insurance, but that is a big push out there. And the more companies, when you see companies coming in, that is a positive thing. I think it will take still another year, another 2 years for us to really see big price cuts. But when I saw that $2,000 difference in the same quotes, I said, ooh, that's pretty exciting. That's what I like to see, because that competition will bring prices down. It's just how fast and how much is the question. Where I see opportunity next year is planned developments and new construction. We saw a lot of that doing pretty well last year, not as well as probably the developers would like, but that works out to the buyer's favor. There's a lot of incentives to buy in these planned communities. Now, you should know a lot of them don't offer restaurants, or they have amenities like pools and gyms sometimes, but you are a little bit further inland. There's some in South Punta Gorda that's not as true, and we do know, done recent videos on this, there's a lot of commercial coming outside the planned communities because so many planned communities are coming together. If you want to be near boating, you wouldn't have a boat in your backyard in those areas, but you'd be by Burnstone Marina. You have a lot of opportunities. So that's an idea. But then we also have planned communities like Babcock Ranch and Welland Park, where there are restaurants right in there. There's not a lot yet. Welland Park is pretty, there's several restaurants. I would say that's in Venice, right on the Port Charlotte Venice line, and that has a lot of opportunity. Babcock is growing every day, which is in South Punta Gorda, almost to Fort Myers. It's southeast. Babcock is very inland, so it appeals to a lot of people, but you're kind of in a little bubble there. There's also CDD fees in most of these communities, especially the ones with more stuff, higher HOA fees. So you kind of play this financial game in them. Okay, maybe your insurance isn't as high, but you're paying all these other fees. Maybe you're driving a little bit further, but you are further away from the coast, so you usually don't need to have flood insurance. Even if you have a mortgage, you might choose to have flood insurance, because if it floods, you might need that, but they're higher up and more inland. So it's always kind of this balancing act. A lot of people say to me, no matter what kind of home, who would buy these flooded homes? Well, for some people, they're a great opportunity to live on the water. They can do drywall and they can fix it up themselves. So they're excited by the opportunity, and for other people, that's not worth it to them. And of course, I always have people who don't want to live in an HOA. They don't want to pay a CDD fee. So that seems, why not live on the water? Just pay a little bit more in insurance and not pay these HOA fees. It's always this balancing act in real estate. As I tell all my customers, all I can do is educate you, and then you make decisions. If you are interested in purchasing or selling real estate in 2025 and want help, I'm happy to help you with that. Please shoot me an email or give me a call. All my information is below. You can also just book an appointment with me. We can spend a half an hour on the phone chit-chatting about real estate. I'd love to talk to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.